was a big piece of the puzzle that I think most agents probably don't even really have to think about.
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Elite Agent Secrets. On today's episode, we have Jay Kinder. Now, Jay Kinder was in the top 10, 7 out of 10 years for Coldwell Banker. He has sold over 4,000 homes, and since moving to EXP, has built an organization of over 6,000 members. This guy is an OG of real estate, and he really has, done what I imagine all of you listening want to achieve. So, Jay, thank you so much for jumping on with us today to share some of the secrets to success.
Absolutely, man. Happy to be here and happy to share as well.
It's going to be a great time. Now, I know you've got 3 top secrets that you're going to share with people about how you actually managed to grow and scale your company over those 10 years at Coldwell Banker, and then obviously since moving to EXP and how that all looks. However, let's give people a bit of background, a bit of context about like how it all started for Jay Kinder. Like all them years ago, like why'd you get into real estate? How'd you sell your first homes? How did you grow? And let's just get a bit going there.
Yeah. So I was 19 years old, and I was actually mowing yards. My dad had bought a Coldwell Banker franchise the year I graduated high school, and he wasn't really in sales. He had a property management company, and he kind of mostly did property management, but he bought a franchise, a Coldwell Banker franchise, and had a bunch of agents. And so that kind of became the new thing. Well, I didn't know very much about real estate or any of, the commission and how it gets paid and that kind of stuff. And so one day I was mowing his rental properties. That was my job. And not the good ones. It would be the ones where people didn't mow the grass for 6 months. And so that was my job. And I went in to get paid one day, and there was a guy that was in there that was getting paid. He was getting a check for like over $5,000. And I was getting a check for like $400. And I was like, well, I don't know what he did today, but I mean, I think I could probably do whatever he did, because he didn't break a sweat. It didn't look like to me, and he was getting paid a whole lot of money. I said, well, tell me more about this. So how did he get paid so much? What did he do? He's like, well, he sold a house, such and such and such. I said, he got paid that much to sell a house. Are you kidding me? I said, all right, well, I'm interested in getting into real estate. And so that was kind of how it started. And I was fortunate, I think, when I first started to go to a course called Dale Carnegie, which was really, it was a really great course. One of the first books I think everybody should read is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that was, that was probably the first book I read, that was, outside of high school. Right. And so that was a really good intro to, learning sales and, getting up and speaking in front of people and things that were extremely uncomfortable for me. But that helped a little bit. And then, I continued to go to classes and courses and pretty much, anything I could find for how to sell houses, because I didn't have a sphere of influence. I did. They were all doing cake stands still in college, but there wasn't a whole lot of people for me to sell. So I had to learn how to get customers, and I think that's a skill that a lot of people get into real estate and they don't ever really learn is how to spend money in marketing to acquire a customer. And so I was, quickly on this journey of trying to figure that out. And, like most people, everything I tried didn't work. And so, continue to go to classes, pay to go to events. And I would pick up little things here and there, and I would try them. And then sometimes things would work, sometimes things wouldn't. But I would always get, a little bit more knowledge and have something I could go do. And so it took a little while, but, I think I sold 22 houses my first year. I remember an agent in my office tried to steal my first transaction. I was trying to get the top agent in the office to help me with it, and he tried to steal the client from me. And this is in my own office my dad owns, you know what I'm saying? And like this jerk tried to steal the client. From that point on, I wanted to be the number one agent in the office just so I could kick his ass. That's all I really cared about. And his name was at the top of the leaderboard at the time. I was like, well, I don't know how he does that. He just tries to steal from people. But yeah, so it was a struggle to figure out. I think I spent a ton of money, probably most of what I made the first year anyway, in trying to learn how to get customers. That was the biggest challenge for me. And I think it's even if you have even if you've been in the business a while, I think the ups and downs, that real estate roller coaster of having a handful of deals this month and not having something coming in next month. The challenge of having consistent business, every month is something I had to kind of solve for myself early. And then that was very helpful. It turned out to be, because I believe the best marketer wins, not always the best real estate agent. And in the beginning, I definitely wasn't the best real estate agent. I did spend a lot of time learning the market and trying to understand the numbers. And I did a market study in my first couple of years in the business, just for my own self, and really helped me to be an expert, right? Like, you have to know what you're talking about, and you have to be a true professional. And so at a young age, I didn't have a seasoned look about me. I'll say I looked a little wet behind the ears. So I think a lot of people looked at me like, "What? You're trying to get me to list your house? List with you? You're just a kid." Kind of a feeling. So I had to truly become an expert and know my stuff. And so that was a blessing in disguise, because I think that's really what allowed me to build, the foundation of building a real business is on truly being exceptional at what you do, and being an expert, and being able to advise people and making the biggest decision they're going to make in most people's lifetimes is to do with real estate. So that was kind of how it started, and kind of went from there.
I think it's interesting how you saw like lead generation marketing as like the obvious direction for you just to start growing and scaling very quickly. So like, let's go back to, by the way, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yep.
Love that book. Yep. Fantastic book. Highly recommended if you haven't. It's such a bizarre thing, but I actually got the weirdest nugget from that. And you can maybe take this away, but in one point of the book, he said, when giving feedback, don't say, but say, and.
Right.
And that was one of his bits. He was like, "Oh, this was great, but can you do it like this next time? Because you're ending on negative." It's like, "This is great. And could you like do it this way next time?" And people will absorb the information as opposed to like feeling like you've attacked them.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Tiny little nugget.
Little things like that make a huge difference. For sure. Good stuff.
Yeah. Small nuggets. So when you started, I love your origin story, by the way. It's like, he's got $5,000. I want that. Like, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think that's why we all kind of saw it and got into it, to be honest. It's like, they did one transaction, like obviously, especially in like Cali, it's like, we did 25 grand a transaction, like it's a lot of money for one deal. So, how did you, with your first 22 deals, right? From zero, how did you got that first deal? Let's talk about the first one that the guy tried to steal. How did you get it?
Yeah.
Did it get stolen in the end? Did you save it from the brink? And then how was it lead generation, or how did you get the first 22? Because it sounds like you were still figuring it all out.
Yeah. I think I got a little bit lucky. The first deal I got was from answering the phones. And so we had, this is back in the day when there was floor time and I didn't have anything better to do. So I sat there and answered the phone, got a hold of a buyer, ended up finding a house, and they bought that very first house. I tried to get this gentleman to help me with writing the contract because I didn't know what I was doing. And he tried to snake the deal from me, but that was the first deal. And then there was an REO account that I picked up that by accident, because nobody else in the company wanted it. They were all 50,000 or less houses and garbage. There was trash. Turned out I closed a few deals from that, and I did a ton of open houses. And one of the interesting things that I did, and this is kind of the reason why I even remember some of this, but is at the end of the year, my dad, and this was something I guess Coldwell Banker must have provided. I still use the same format for all my goal setting. But they pass out this action plan. And one of the things it asks you to do is go back and look at what was the last 10 transactions that you did and where did they come from. And that served as a pretty good reminder of what the heck I was doing that was actually working and what wasn't, right? And so, and FSBOs and expireds was something that I started working early on. And I picked up, quite a few deals from that. And that was really, I think, and this is, I would say, like one of the one nuggets, one of my three biggest nuggets would be, there's skills to be learned, and skills can be learned. learning how to sell requires skills. Before you could ever become a great marketer and spend money to acquire a customer, you first have to learn the skill of how to communicate, build relationships, and ultimately sell and close. And I would say that most real estate agents are not trained on how to sell. And it was, again, I was fortunate enough to have attended a sales training course and, adapted all of that to, selling real estate. And who was I going to practice it on? I didn't have any clients. So I had to go with what was the low hanging fruit, which was, for sale by owners and expireds. I remember the first time I heard about for sale by owners, I didn't even know there was such a thing, right? Like, you mean to tell me that people have a sign in their yard that say they want to sell their house and they don't have an agent to help them? And I said, and nobody's calling these people. I said, am I the only one that sees that as kind of ridiculous? Like, if this was the car industry, man, you'd have cars dropped off every day at their house. Like, it just, people weren't working them. And I was blown away by that. Now, I realized why people weren't working them pretty quickly, because they were not the easiest to convert. I had to learn a skill. And so, that was the thing that, I didn't have. What else? I don't know what real estate agents do all day if they're not selling any houses, but days are really long if you aren't selling any houses. So I was willing to call, make those calls, go visit those people, follow up with those people, where other people just didn't do that, I guess. And so I learned the skills. And that's what enabled me to really move to the next level. When you start thinking about, if you can get 3 or 4 deals for free a month, that equals maybe 20,000 or more a month in revenue for you with no cost to acquire a customer. Now you can start to create leverage, and you can start to invest in marketing, and you can start to multiply your business at a pretty fast rate. And I was fortunate to double and double and double and double. Like it's like a rocket the way the business grew. Made a lot of mistakes along the way, but the thing that I did well was understanding how to get business through marketing, and that, and investing, being willing to invest where other people are probably a little bit afraid to do that. So, but yeah, it was, the first year was interesting. I mean, I definitely learned a lot. I fell on my face a lot. But every time, I'll never forget the first for sale by owner. It was 3001 Stratford Lane in Lawton, Oklahoma. And I'll never forget, they said yes, and they listed the house with me. And I was like, I cannot believe they actually did it. Like, somebody actually listed their house with me. and once I knew it could happen, that then it was, you're never going to get me to stop doing it now. Like, now I know it works. Right. So, I was hopeful that it was going to work, but that once you have that experience where, now your mindset's changed and your beliefs have changed, like, yeah, this is definitely possible because I just did it. And so that was a big win for me, at least my confidence.
I want to go down this rabbit hole. I want to jump into here because I really want to go down this rabbit hole, because this isn't a personal thing. This is something we all experience. Is you don't believe it's true. You hope it's true until it happens. And then all of a sudden you have this mental shift. Like, it is like a floodgate of door. Like, was it Roger Bannister with the 4-minute mile?
Right.
Like, no one had ever done it. He did it. And then the following year, was it 20 people did it? But no one had ever done it.
Right.
And it's because all of a sudden this barrier was broken. And you were saying, like, I did one, I was like, holy shit, this actually works. Okay, I actually did it. Like, I'll just do that again. And you did that over and over and over again, right? So, like, I think the reason this is important is for everyone listening. It's like, if you haven't done it yet, like, just, you've got to believe that this is happening right now to people all over the country. It's true. It works. You might not have done it yet, but when you do, you will, like, smash through, unlock Pandora's box, and you'll be like, holy shit, this is a whole new world that I could just specialize in.
100%.
Which is, I think,
100%.
Correct me if I'm wrong, how most agents actually originally specialize is usually it's the first thing that really works for them. They go, I'm just going to do that because it now works. Right? Which is what we found along the way, is like, these agents are like, why did you get into FSBOs, expireds? Why did you get into listings? And they were like, well, I just found this strategy that worked really well for me. So I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
The Greek Goliath teams doing like 1 or 2 different strategies, right?
Yeah. Yep. And it's funny, we have a coaching organization that we've coached many of the top agents all around the country and just about every marketplace. And some of those agents now doing more than 1,000 transactions, more than I've ever done. And one of the things that, and that discovered, and the highly successful, the most successful agents, I would say agents doing 100 transactions or more, not 99%, 100% of them prospected FSBOs and expireds at some point in their career. And so it wasn't amazing to me. It wasn't surprising to me, because how else do you learn the skill of having to overcome objections, compete with someone who's lower in their commission? How else do you learn how to compete? Because if you get some referrals or people that come back to you again, those people are a warm referral, and you don't have to be as good at selling. But people that are strangers and don't really know you, and you got through marketing or you call them FSBOs or prospected them, whatever, you have to learn sales skills, and you better do that before you start spending money on leads and stuff too, because you're going to have to learn how to sell. And so that was something that was really beneficial to my business. Is I learned how to sell. And I had a process, right? Like there's a sales system, and there's a process around how I built rapport and went through each stage of the process to win the listing. And so that was a big piece of the puzzle that I think most agents probably don't even really think about, because they haven't ever really prospected FSBOs, expireds, or had to compete at a real high level. And it's something that once you do that, you become really difficult to defeat. You become pretty hard to beat. And honestly, you could parachute me into any market and place in the country, and as soon as I know the marketplace a little bit, I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with, because I know how to convert people to a sale. And so I take that skill with me anywhere. And that's so I think that's something that most people should focus on is improving their skills and their sales skills. And that's going to, and that's, there's a ton of people that train it. We train it. Mike Ferry, I went to his training. He has a really good course and stuff around prospecting. The frustration I had with some of that stuff, and part of the reason why I got into coaching, was because they try to tell you that prospecting is the only way. Well, it's not the only way. It's just one pillar of the business. And it's not like buy referrals only. Well, that's just a pillar of the business. No one was teaching that. Everybody was trying to sell you on their methodology that this is the one way to do it. It's not. Those are pillars to the business, and you should be doing all of those things to maximize your profitability.
So Jay, I got one follow-up question for you. As far as the commitment goes and the timeline, how long before you wanted to give up, or you got that first, person to say yes? How many calls? Let's put some numbers behind this, because one of the trends that we're seeing is that people are giving up like way too early.
Right.
They pick up the phone, call 15, 20 people. They all say no. And then they buzz off and they say, no, this doesn't work, right? But if we're talking about sales and marketing, you're talking about a process, you have a framework in place. Let's break some of that down. What does that look like? Timeline, commitment, how long it took you to get there, and then what kind of process did you put in place to convert more regularly?
So I'll be the first to tell you, I hated making the calls. So this was not something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was probably a few years before I actually hired someone to make the calls and replace me. Because and that didn't happen until I recognized that I was not making the calls as often as I had in the past. And so that kind of starts to kickstart this whole, roller coaster thing. Is like you're making calls, and then you stop making calls, and you're closing the business you did last month, and then the next month is really light for some reason. Well, it's because you were not doing the things that got you the business 60 days ago. And so in the beginning, there was a lot of rejection. I don't recall how long I had been making those calls. I don't remember how long it was. I don't think I would have given up at all, just because I didn't have anything else to do. So for me, it was like, oh, cool. I drove by another for somebody owner. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to call them every single time. They may shut me down, but what else am I going to do? Right. So that was kind of my mentality. And then once I got just a little bit of momentum, which I'm going to say it was months of time of meeting with people, and finally one person said yes. Then I was just like, okay, now I want all of them, right? So I don't care where it is, what it is. I pulled them out of the newspaper, I pulled them offline. Well, back then it wasn't online. We've evolved to that over time, but the sign, anywhere I saw a sign, I would back up and drive down that road. I was not going to pass it for sale by owner without getting the information and calling them. And so that was something I did pretty regular. And again, I wasn't going to accept defeat. I believed that these people were selling their houses, certainly expired listing. They had already listed with somebody and said yes once, and they didn't sell their house, so they're probably even more motivated than they were before. So I knew that had to be a good source of people. I couldn't think of anything better than someone that has been trying to sell for 6 months in terms of motivation. And so, that all just made sense to me. And, again, like I said, I didn't have the money to spend in marketing, and I didn't have any other, real source of leads that I could depend on. I could do floor, or I'd hold open houses for other agents and stuff like that. But and I met a ton of people doing open houses every Sunday I did them every Sunday for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, probably. I've met people, built relationships, picked up buyers and stuff, occasionally picked up a listing from it. But yeah, the thing that really catapulted my business was my willingness to stay, to continuously call the expireds day one, first thing out of the gate. And, every for sale by owner that I came across, that was something that, once I knew that it was an opportunity, even though there was rejection, I did a lot of other stuff that didn't work. Right. So I had done this mailer, some kind of mailer. It was such a stupid idea now that I think about it, but it was a mailer to any agents that had left the company, their past clients, and as if I was the new agent that would be taking care of their business. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Did not produce any fruit. And that cost money too. So that didn't work. I was suspicious of that one, and so I didn't keep doing it. Right, I didn't keep mailing letters. I didn't get the result I was after, so I moved on. But I knew once I was talking to people that were actually, going to be buying or selling, that's a live person that's going to do something. I just got to figure out what I got to do to make them like me enough that they'll actually hire me. And so that was kind of my motivation behind it. I don't know if that really answers the question, but that's I can answer it.
No, it does. And thank you for that. Now, as far as your process, did you call X amount, or you were I'm going to call until they pick up, give me the thumbs up or the middle finger, and that was it? That was the strategy.
Yeah. So, I was pretty relentless with that. I mean, first of all, for sale by owners put their number on the sign. It's not like they're not going to, they're not dodging you. And so they're easy, and they'll show the house to anybody. So they're pretty simple. Expired's a little different, right? You got somebody that's pretty frustrated and generally just pissed off at real estate agents in general. And so that took a little more skill. But yeah, when they would hang up on me, and this was just my approach, and I think, I probably picked this up from, I think David Knox actually was a trainer that I sat through one of his classes at a Coldwell Banker event. And he's like, just have fun, just have fun. Don't get your feelings hurt. Just have fun. You're just genuinely trying to help them, right? When I'm just genuinely trying to help you, your house didn't sell. I'm kind of surprised it didn't sell, because a lot of homes did and yours didn't. So I'm curious if you had a buyer that was interested, that was willing to pay a price that's acceptable to you. That's a question that they can't say no to, right? Would you still be open to selling it? And, they go into telling me, I said, well, what makes why do you think the house didn't sell? And then they tell me why they think the house didn't sell. And before you know it, we're off to a good conversation. Then every once in a while, someone would hang up on me, and I would always call them right back. I was like, "I'm sorry, man, we got disconnected." And I'll still set that appointment, where 99.9% of agents won't. And again, I'm just approaching it as friendly. Hey, I'm just trying to help. I'd love to have an opportunity to see the house. Once they let me in the front door, it's game over. I'm going to get that listing. And so, that's, and again, it's where other agents are passive and afraid. I just wasn't. And, that was the only thing I had going for me. So I had to have something, a little fire in my belly, I guess. But, I wasn't afraid of it. For whatever reason, I wasn't afraid of it. It sucked when people hung up on me, and sometimes it pissed me off or whatever. But, it didn't keep me from making those calls, because I knew every once in a while one of them was going to say yes.
Jim Rohn always says, I need to talk to 10 people. 7 of them will say no. 3 of them will say yes. I just need you to be at least one of the 7 so that I can keep moving.
Right, that's it.
And keep grooving, right?
Yep.
I think about that all the time, that Jim Rohn thing. If anyone hasn't heard it, it's part of one of his speeches. Is I've got a batting average or a ratio of 3 out of 10. So I know you're not going to buy, just come and be one of the 7.
That's it.
I love
That's
it.
the true beauty right there.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like that was obviously the core staple part. FSBO's expired, just grinding first few years. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, before you go, we're giving access to a private training we did where we revealed the top 3 niches to get listings today completely for free. So if you want access, you can go and download that training at eliteagentsecrets.com. We're regularly releasing new trainings, guides, and cheat sheets, so make sure to head over to eliteagentsecrets.com and sign up so you don't miss out.